So, hi there. New video because I got a question from someone who was asking about my doggy gear, to be precise, my doggy pack, or not. Sorry, let's start over. Um, a new video because someone asked about my doggy sleeping bag. They found a video of Syntax77, and there he was talking about my doggy sleeping bag, which I sent him for review, and he's still using it. And someone was curious about it, so they contacted me, and we ended up discussing my Doggy Gear, which I use, and it's actually a 4-season setup, so I can change things out. But basically, sorry about the noise. Basically, I can use this stuff for winter, summertime, and it will change out a bit, but the gear stays the same. Um, so no changes there. So everything you see laying here, I don't know if everything is in frame, but this is all there is for my dog. And everything that is on the ground, except his doggy pack, is things that I carry. Things that are not in here is water and food, because we all know what the doggy food looks like, and we're not discussing that, so I'll be carrying that, and I will be putting that in Ziplocs, and the water is just the same bottles that I use for myself, and I will refill. So to start, everything that I carry is this uh, wool vest that I can put him in. Just put this over his head, put his feet through the holes here, as you can see, and it just reaches to the back of his belly so that he can still pee when he has this on. It's from Ice Peak. I found this on sale. So this is for when it's really cold. This is winter use. When it's really getting cold, and wind starts picking up, and I gotta, oh, that was a bug, and I still gotta clean up, or for whatever reason we gotta stand still, I will put this on. He has a double coat. It is a Border-Collie, so a bit of rain will not get him soaking wet. It will, most of the time, it will just leak off, and I just towel dry him, and that's okay. I try to keep him dry. Keep him on the leash so that he cannot swim, except for summertime, that is different, but in winter I keep him dry. But this is for when it's really cold, and he is getting cold, and he can get cold. I have been there, and he was shivering, and we had to walk back to the car, start the car. That was actually one of my videos that is from the start, and we had to put him in the car and put the heater on because he was so cold, and we were too. But it was -7 degrees Celsius, and there was a wind like 4 BF. So that was cold. But okay, this is his shirt. Then I got 2 collapsible balls, which I use for him, which are handy dandy. They collapse, so they're really thin. They do weigh, but I carry them in my pack, and whenever he's drinking or eating, they will collapse on you, but it works, and it's lighter and less bulky than other things. I gotta find some more sturdy ones because, as you can see, every time I touch it, it just collapses on itself. But for now, these, I think most people use these. They weren't really expensive. Apart from that, I have a bucket of Vaseline, which I put in a smaller container. Yeah, for winter use, when it's snowing, I will take this and I will rub it on his paws, because most dogs will get snow and it will clot up between the toes, and that will get painful after a time. So when you rub Vaseline on it, the snow won't stick, and there's no reason for doggy shoes or anything. The only time I would consider doggy shoes is when I would be in the mountains and there would be really sharp rocks, or on a beach where there are like these clamshells which are really sharp. Then I would consider doggy shoes. Everything else, I just use Vaseline for snow, and for the rest, yeah, So Vaseline, I got a really tiny bucket from the Chinese takeaway. I just cleaned that out, and I can put something in here like Vaseline to rub on his paws to keep them nice and moist, because his paws could get dry when it's summer, and you can rub some Vaseline on it. Doesn't hurt anyone, and it's really small bucket, so it doesn't weigh anything. So you could do that. I never did that, but it could happen. I got a fleece, which was really cheap. I found it at a budget store. It is 1 meter wide and 1.20 meters long. I use this in summer. This I carry in my pack. I can fold it up really small, so it doesn't take up too much space. And yeah, it's just a fleece, nothing more, nothing less. So when the temperature goes down a bit too far, than more than I expected, I can always throw this on him. 9 out of 10 times, everything above 5 degrees Celsius. So that will be, I think, 30 Fahrenheit. He will just lie on top of it because it's too warm. Going to freezing, I will throw this over him, and that is mostly, it is enough for him. But do keep in mind, he has a double coat, so he can keep himself warmer than dogs with a single coat. But a fleece. So then we have his doggy pack. I ordered this from a Chinese website, and it is from Black Doggy. It's actually, for the price, it's a fairly comfortable pack, and it doesn't, it keeps his balance. I have tried one before, a more expensive one from Holland, and that kept going to the left or to the right, and I was constantly trying to fix that, and this stays in its place. So this is everything he carries, and the rest of his doggy gear. There's no more gear that I use, so everything in here is. Start with this pouch. You have seen this in other videos. This is his doggy mattress, and basically what I did is this is just a closed cell foam mat, which I cut up into pieces, small pieces, and I made a ripstop nylon baggie for it. I fitted them in there, and I sewed it, whatever. I fixed it together so it will form a sleeping pad that I can just fold up to this size, which fit in his doggy pack. That's it. I take this for summer, winter, spring, fall, doesn't matter. I take this with me always. It is a comfort item for him, because when I throw this on the ground, he will lay on it and everything is okay because he's comfortable with it. When the ground is wet, I can put him on here. 9 out of 10 times he will just start rolling in the grass because that's fun to get wet. But I can lay him down on here. I use this in my tent for winter time so that he doesn't get cold from the ground up. Never had any issues with it. I can combine these two, which I do in summertime or early spring when it sometimes gets cold. Sorry, I'm a bit, my nose is runny. But I combine those two, but I always take this. Then I got, in this pocket, I got his doggy sleeping bag. I will link to the review of Syntax, who did a review on my bag. It's exactly the same, but this bag is a different color, but setup is the same, sizes are the same, everything is the same, because his dog is just as big as my dog is, but mine is a Border-Collie and his dog is a mix. But I put it in a stuff sack from my underquilt. I do have a hammock. Sorry for the wind. Wind is picking up. I do have a hammock, so this is the stuff sack from my underquilt, but I used it for my doggy sleeping bag, and that fits nicely into his doggy pack. Sleeping bag. And this is modular, so I can use this in just the same way I can use the fleece. I can use the ground part just to lay on top of his mat. I can put it over him if it gets cold. I can just take the top part that I can throw over him if it's cold, or just use it to throw on the ground if I don't want to take this, but I actually always take it because he's carrying it himself. So, sleeping bag, modular system. I still make these, so you can still order them. My website isn't up to date. I didn't finish that because I was in between jobs and stuff like that, so we'll be trying to fix that. But you can order these. And they're not cheap, but they do work. So do watch the review. Doggy sleeping bag. Then in a side pocket, which I marked up with a international cross, and I wrote down first aid plus info. So in here I have a self-made doggy first aid kit. There is some tick and flea repellent in here, which you drip on him and he will be protected for 1 month. 2 small bandages, 2 blue self-sticky bandage, some tape, just some paper tape, some duct tape, and that's rolled around a card. I got some medical tape, like all the color tapes you see on people, and I made 2 cards. One is a SOS, I lost my owner, please call him. And on the other side there is his information. It is a Border-Collie, his name, his chip number, that he's vaccinated, where the chip is, stuff like that. And my contact information. Might he run away, my leash breaks, he runs away and someone finds him. Also there is a note to do not give him food that is not in the bag. So don't feed him except what's in the bag. So this is his first aid kit. I got a extra Ziploc just for whatever my Ziploc from my first aid kit leaks or something, and I gotta keep it dry. So that's for that pocket. The other side I have a long leash. I use that on when I'm at the campsite, so I can tie him up if needed. Sometimes the forest guard wants dogs on the leash at all times, so I will have to tie him up. Most of the times I just let him run around. I got some doggy treats, which I cut up in small pieces so that I can keep him happy around camp, or just reward him. There is some other treats. Normally I just have one pouch of treats in here, but yeah, I was working on that, so these are almost empty. So I have new ones, but normally it's just one baggie. And that is basically it. That's it. Summer and winter use. This is what I use for my dog. And he is sleeping with me inside of my tent. I didn't use my hammock anymore. Probably will in the future when I find out what I was doing wrong, because I couldn't sleep in it. And I know I can sleep in a tent, and in wintertime I gotta keep my dog warm and out of the wind, because I like to take him whenever I go, and that's the way I can do that. And I don't want to carry 2 systems like a tent. And by the way, I cannot keep an eye on him. If he gets out of his sleeping bag and he cannot get in and it's way too cold and I'm sleeping, you know, you can get into trouble. Your dog getting freezing, not fun. So yeah, that is ground camping. So except for the stuff that I use, he is inside of my tent. This is all his gear. Most of it he carries himself, the rest I carry. But you cannot put too much weight on your dog, so that's you will end up carrying most of the stuff for your dog. Unless you do it like I do, I just use minimal items, and I try to make things myself like this. And my sleeping bag, I try to make things myself so that it doesn't get too expensive, because there is stuff out there for your dog, but it's mostly bulky, heavy. Another thing you could do instead of this is use a piece of Z-Lite. You can buy a Z-Lite mat and yeah, just cut that up to the size of your dog, and that can also fold down, and you will have the same idea, but you need some insulation under him. just like you do with a human, unless it's a husky, which is known with cold. Those guys can take up really low temperatures, so you won't need anything with a husky unless it's an inside dog. Then you do. My dog is always inside, so he doesn't mind cold. But whenever we're going camping and he is sleeping with me inside of the tent, he's not used to that, so he will get cold. So this is it. This is all the gear I carry for my dog, and yeah, I think this is all I need. And if you have any other ideas or gear that I missed, which should be there in his doggy pack, or which I should be carrying, which I really need, except for food, because like I said, I won't show that here because that's no use. But if you do find anything, please let me know. And yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, I'd like to hear them. See you guys next time. Now go take a hike.